Yo, we are watching Lazy Sequels by Assad Anjim. I literally just made this playlist full of a bunch of different things that I wanted to watch. So this is 22 minutes. Let's get started because we know how I am with long videos.
The video game industry is built off of sequels and
I didn't even bring my
franchises.
water. It didn't. Perfect.
This is a list of every single Game of the Year nominee from the Game Awards in the 2020s.
2020s. So we had The Last of Us Part 2. Animal Crossing New Horizon was a Game of the Year contender. Wow. Doom Eternal makes sense. Final Fantasy VII Remake makes sense. Ghost of Tsushima makes sense. Hades, never played it. Baldur's Gate 3, heard good things about it, never played it. Alan Wake 2, I didn't really hear good things about that. Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, I think. I don't know. From what I heard, it was okay. Marvel Spider-Man 2, man. Marvel Spider-Man 2. Mm-mm. That's like, I just realized, hold up. There we go. Is that better for my thing? Doo-doo-doo. That's too much headroom. Trying to just make sure my shit is right. No, it's dumb of me. I'm saying too much headroom, and then I'm pushing this thing forward. Ugh, whatever. Just lean that back a little bit. Is that gonna? Yeah, I'm a fucking idiot. I don't know why. Yes, let's move the thing back in an effort to close up headroom. Perfect. Right. But what do you call it? Marvel Spider-Man 2, man. When a game has so much promise but doesn't deliver, it sucks. It really hurts to see, man. Like, yeah. Resident Evil 4, never played it. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, I didn't even know they dropped the new Super Mario Bros. It Takes Two, I believe I heard that Deathloop, I'm surprised that made it. Metroid Dread, didn't hear about that. Psychonauts 2, didn't hear about that. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, that's pretty interesting. Resident Evil Village, I played the demo of that. Understandable. Astrobot, Volatro, Black Myth Wukong, even though I've never finished the game, but that game's been fire. Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree. Isn't that a that's the multiplayer? Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Metaphor, Refantasio, Elden Ring. And that didn't win Game of the Year because I'm assuming he's showing me all the things I want. Elden Ring didn't win. Wow. A Plague Tale that was rated. Wow. God of War Ragnarok not winning was ridiculous. Horizon Forbidden West. Wow. Stray. That's a shocker. And Xenoblade Chronicle 3. Hmm,
20
interesting.
out of these 30
Ah,
games are new entries in existing
oh, these are new entries. Okay.
franchises. Another couple are new franchises but have very strong connections to existing franchises from the same
I thought you
developers,
showed me
and one of
winners.
these is a straight up DLC to another game on the list. In terms of commercial success, the rate of sequels in the highest selling games of every year
Black Ops 6, EA Sports Football 2, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Oh man, what a game. Sucks. 2K25, NFL Madden 25, EA Sport. Y'all heard about EA getting bought out by some Saudi Arabia group? Crazy. Hogwarts Legacy. Amazing. Dragon Dogma 2. WWE 2K24 and will be the show 24. GTA 5 again. Minecraft Final Fantasy Remake. Blah, blah.
is even higher. Taking last year's reference, of the 20 highest selling games of the entire
Those are higher
year,
sales
only
games.
two
Wow.
games weren't new installments in existing franchises: Minecraft and Elden Ring. Although you could also argue that Elden Ring is part of this greater nebulous Souls series, even if it is a new IP, so the only one that undoubtedly checks this box is the game from 14 years ago. Originality in games has become a really big talking point recently, especially in the so-called remake
crazy.
era, and the reliance on franchises is a core part of
We are
this.
living in a
There's a
remake
growing
era.
sentiment that the industry is stagnating, and it comes from razor-thin success margins forcing studios to not take risks. There's even a dude who made a video on the importance of taking risks in the AAA space.
agree.
Wonder what he was talking about. But on its own, an abundance of sequels doesn't necessarily mean a lack of progress.
If I can find that video, I'll watch that video about taking risks. Cause yeah, I feel like a lot of companies are taking risks. Cause a lot of games are just getting boring and repetitive. Cause it's like, oh my god, don't care. No one's like putting effort into it or anything. It's like, bro, I want y'all to try. You know, like if y'all don't try, then it's like, ugh. You know what I'm saying? You guys trying. That's what led to us getting new shit. It's what led to y'all guys being popular. Try something new, bro. Everyone's doing the same shit. Where did he get this Daredevil poster from? I'd love to get this.
Some of the most
I don't know where I
important and
put it, but
genre-defining games have been
you know.
sequels. Half-Life 2, GTA 3, Call of Duty 7, Maybe not that one. But recently I've noticed a bit of a culture shift in sequels and their expectations, specifically that they aren't making big enough strides from the previous game. Spider-Man 2 and Tears of the Kingdom were treated like half measures. God of War Ragnarok also received some pushback on its reused locations and animations. Meanwhile, Phantom Liberty and Shadow of the Erdtree are
Who was hating on Ragnarok? I didn't hear anybody hating on Ragnarok, and if you were, you're weird because Ragnarok was amazing. I don't want to hear anyone say anything else. Ragnarok was amazing. I hope I am recording. Am I recording? Yes, I am. Thank goodness. There's only a minute in, and I wonder how much I've already recorded.
are by name and nature DLCs, despite having an ass ton of new content and getting Game Award recognition, blurring the lines to what a sequel even is. The new Doom game has gotten it both ways. It's praised for not just being a carbon copy by some people, and accused of being just a spin-off by others. And with sequels being, for better or for worse, the lifeblood of the industry, I think this is all worth looking into. Why is the perception of sequels changing? Are they actually moving the needle forward? And have they just become over-glorified DLCs? But first, I need to get a goddamn haircut.
I wish I didn't see the Wolverine trailer. I would watch it.
I look the exact same. Trying to understand the level of newness that a sequel has feels like kind of an arbitrary task because what is new? That's not a scientific term. But also, some series are actually better served with small iterative changes rather than massive overhauls. Of course, you have your Final Fantasies and Zeldas of the world, which have always thrived off of constant reinvention, but for a series like Uncharted, it always had a strong fundamental core that remained largely unchanged from game to game. And despite that fact, Uncharted 2 is considered one of the best sequels ever. So I'm not going to sit here and act like iterative changes are a bad thing, but I will say that sometimes it seems like the amount that these iterative changes are actually improving these games is getting harder and harder to notice. And partly because what these games are iterating on is already so
okay.
polished. It almost seems like some sequels are being punished for how good the last one was. If you look at an Uncharted 2, or a Mass Effect 2, or Assassin's Creed 2, or even Dark Souls 1 as a sequel to Demon's Souls, these were seen as games that took a great but flawed idea and managed to tighten the screws to get the most out of the concept. They all made the original game feel like a prototype, meanwhile they became Prototype 2. But that doesn't really fly anymore. Like, let's take a look at a couple other new PlayStation IPs 10 years on from that original Uncharted game, like Days Gone and Horizon Zero Dawn. One of these was a fairly mediocre, marginally entertaining game that felt like it could have room to grow as a franchise if given time, but it didn't meet sales expectations or critical expectations, so it was canned. The other was a new, fresh idea that felt super refined. I'm not even the biggest fan of it, but still, for the most part, it's incredibly well made. It gets a sequel, and it's good, but it doesn't shit kick Zero Dawn into next Tuesday, so it kind of feels like more of the same, just a little better. To even earn the right to develop a sequel nowadays, you need to hit a much higher quality quota than you did in the mid-2000s.
Like I'm so disappointed at the fact that I couldn't continue playing the game with y'all on stream because I tried to record it and in my own free time 'cause I didn't feel like streaming it, and then nothing was recorded. Oh my, so fucking annoying. Like you have no idea how annoying that shit is, bro. Like what the hell, you know? So I'm just playing it myself and I'm having a shit ton of fun, bro. Having so much fun. Can't wait for Ghost of Yotei to drop in what 3 hours because it's 8:50.
Thousands. And with things being as cutthroat as they are right now, it's hard to justify radical changes to the stuff that's working, as much as it would be awesome to see, which means both sides of this quality gap do seem to be shrinking. And there are exceptions to this, of course, but it does seem like the quality floor being raised in games in general does have a lot to do with why these sequels are gaining that growing reputation of being glorified DLCs, or that game 1.5. But that also can't be the only reason why this is becoming more common. Because like I said, Uncharted 2 is considered one of the best sequels ever, one of the best games ever even. But you know what's also considered in both of those conversations? Uncharted 4. Assassin's Creed 2 did refine so many things from the previous game and is still probably the most quintessential entry in the series, but arguably people have started to look back even more fondly on Black Flag. Just because a game comes out that's universally praised doesn't mean a sequel is bound to be less appreciated. There has to be another reason why Tears of the Kingdom gets Breath of the Wild 1.5 allegations, while Uncharted 4 never really got that same type of criticism. Which is what brings us to the two types of sequel changes that I want to focus on for the rest of this video. They're both kind of broad, but I feel like they do a good job at showcasing what might be causing this difference in perception. The first type of change is mechanical change. This is when the actual crux of the gameplay is being shifted or improved. This could be anything from major changes to how the game is laid out, like Resident Evil going from third person to first person, or Zelda going from 2D to 3D, to smaller changes like shifts in the speed of the game, what weapons are featured, abilities you have access to, etc. It can even extend to different quest types or refined platforming mechanics, just anything that changes the actual actions you're performing from game to game. One of the series that I think does this the best and most efficiently is Mario. A lot of the 3D games share a ton of the same DNA, but they'll have this one completely transformative tool, the jetpack, Cappy, the gravity mechanics, and that fundamentally changes how you interact with everything around you. Maybe the most pure version of this type of change is in Shovel Knight Plague of Shadows, where you go through almost identical levels to the original campaign, but now with a character who interacts with the world completely differently. The other type of change is contextual change. This is less about what you're doing and more about where you're doing it, who you're doing it to, and for what reasons. Going back to a series like Uncharted, this is where it really shines. In each of these games, you're playing as the same character with the same cover-based shooting, climbing, chase sequences. Even most of the guns themselves are the same or similar in each game, but you're trying to find a different treasure. You're climbing up a broken train in the mountains in one game and through a burning building the next. You're fighting different bad guys, and you're exploring completely new countries and hidden cities. I mean, if you weren't, this would kind of be a stupid name for the series. Of course, there's some things like enemy design that I would consider to be sort of an intersection point between these two types of change, but for the most part, I think these are a couple of nice, convenient buckets to work with. Now, I have a feeling that most people would assume that mechanical changes are probably more conducive to a feeling of newness in sequels than contextual changes are. Of course, usually these go hand in hand, but if you were to isolate them, changing what the player is actually doing is probably more transformative than shooting a gun in the desert versus shooting a gun in the snow, right? But weirdly, in almost any instance you can find of people calling out the 1.5-ness of a sequel, it's the exact opposite. Spider-Man 2 has a completely new ability system from the first game. It gives you a ton of new and altered moves. There's a brief stretch where you play as Venom. There's a parry, there's a wingsuit, there's more entertaining open world content. The amount of purely mechanical changes here are comparable to, and arguably even more than what's found in the Gears games, or Tomb Raider, or Halo, or Ninja Gaiden, or the original God of War trilogy. And yet anyone who accuses the game of being a half sequel always starts off with the same thing. It uses the same map as the last game.
I don't care.
Even though it's not actually the same because it's expanded to 2 new areas, but a huge portion of it is the same. So this is pinned as not a true evolution. And this isn't even me talking about the quality of the game, okay? That can definitely be contended. I have my own critiques about it, but specifically in terms of it feeling like just a half step forward, it is interesting that the tweaks to what you're doing are somewhat overshadowed by.
Like, let's talk about this first, bro. This game was so much fun at first, man. Like, it was so much fun. And I'm literally one trophy away from platinuming the game, but I just can't for the life of me do it. I just can't. Why am I tired? I don't care. I'm thugging through it. I said 3 videos, but again, 3 videos, right? But yeah, it makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me. Um, but yeah, like, the game doesn't really have replay value. I finished the game. I was super hype about it. There was 2 trophies left. One of them is, you have to do the stealth takedown shit as Miles, and then another one was you had to fly continuously to like Queens from someplace, and that one was difficult. Then I got it, and then it's just the Miles thing, but I can't get back into the game. It's just it don't hit the same. It don't hit the same as like that first time or whatever, and it sucks because the game is good. Like the game is good. The intro had me hooked immediately, and I love when a game does that. Like bro, I was so mad when God of War Ragnarok was spoiled for me, and I saw spoilers, but not really spoilers because the game came out in what 20 2021. Like it's been what 4 years, right? It's been like what 4 years. And did God of War Ragnarok release? It's been almost. Oh, 2020. I was in college. Could have sworn that shit dropped when I was in thingy. Well, shoot, I'll be damned. Right? It's um, almost been 4 years. Sorry, almost been 3 years. Almost been 3 years since the game released. If you haven't seen it or if you haven't played it, well, that's that. But spoiler, still, when you're playing and you're beating up Atreus. So when you beat up the bear and you found the bear of Atreus, that got spoiled for me. The the thing with Thor where you both throw your weapons and it clashes, that got spoiled for me. The thing where you die and then Thor brings you back, that got spoiled for me. I'm like, ugh, my God. But like, I was so hyped. I still was locked in with it, and now I can't even go back to it. I don't know. It's just a me thing, probably. Because also I had my expectations too high. I wanted I wanted a DLC and all this other things, and yeah, that's just me.
Where you're doing it being roughly the same. It's the same problem that Zelda just ran into.
See,
Obviously,
I've never
Tears of the
played a
Kingdom
Zelda
is
game
highly
like a day in
praised
my
and
life.
beloved in its own right, but it also experienced scrutiny for its own contextual similarities to its predecessor. This game has a genuine case for having the most groundbreaking gameplay system ever, at least in mainstream games. Fusing things in the world together to create new vehicles, the Ascend ability, I can't even begin to fathom how many rigorous design decisions went into making sure these abilities worked with complete freedom without busting the game open like a piñata. The sheer amount of effort that must have gone into this is asinine. But of course, it uses a lot of the same map as Breath of the Wild, so it's lazy. It doesn't exactly take a rocket scientist to realize that a lot of the complaints here are about reuse. People seem to have a very negative reaction to when they see a significant amount of recycled content between games. And while reused assets, maps, and animations have always been a thing in game dev, it's starting to feel like it's happening more often. And there's a few reasons why I think that's the case.
And there goes his mic. Who's that?
The first is just a byproduct of how much the standard for video game quality is heavily outpacing the means for actually making games of that level of quality and polish. As games become more refined, they take longer, which means people expect more, which means it takes longer to meet those expectations, and as it takes longer, the project costs more, which means games are starting to cost more, which means they have to be bigger with more content to justify that price, which means they take longer, which means people expect more. And you straight up cannot keep up with any of that if you're just just making everything from scratch. Especially for open world games, if you don't learn where to strategically cut corners, you're left making one game per generation at best at this point. And there's a good chance your whole studio is shut down 5 years into the process. There's a reason why Insomniac was praised so heavily for its output in the early PS5 lifecycle, and why none of their PS Studio peers were matching that output. But maybe more importantly, I think the reason why it feels like there's more reuse in games isn't actually about how much is actually being reused, but how we as players perceive different types of reuse. And again, it all comes down to this distinction. Mechanical repetition has historically not been that big of a problem for the vast majority of players. Forget the amount of mechanical consistency between games in a specific genre, much less a specific franchise. Even within a single game, we don't mind that the actual actions we're able to take remain largely the same for the majority of the experience. People can dump hundreds, thousands of hours into a game that has the same basic game loop. But if they keep doing it in the same place, against the same looking people, or achieve the same basic results for too long, it gets stale much faster. That's why the first priority in any multiplayer game, for example, is to get new maps. Meanwhile, if a new game introduces genuinely mind-bending, transformative mechanics, but does it in a space that's too reminiscent of what you saw in the last game, it seemingly devalues the overall product. Mechanical repetition does eventually start to become a problem if it goes on for too long. If the core gameplay elements are barely progressing over the course of multiple games, it will eventually.
Like, people were really tweaking out of losing it. Oh my god, Assassin's Creed's been ruined! Oh my god! No! I was like, bro, you don't shut your bitch ass up, nigga. Like, fuck. You was gonna be A-okay. I think I'm gonna sit like this. Instead of me being super close.
Evoke fatigue at some point, but there's way longer of a runway there than if you recycle too many visual elements. We are much better at picking up on and judging a game for looking the same than we are to judge a game for feeling the same. In fact, we also, for the most part, fail to see when a gameplay system is truly transformative. We're actually really bad at recognizing that unless it's made super obvious. I'll give you an example. Remember how earlier I said that Doom of the Dark Ages isn't really treated like a half-step sequel, but it has garnered the reputation of being a spin-off, even though it's not. It's a full-priced mainline entry. Even I've shared similar thoughts. I mentioned them over on Code Cleric. Speaking of which, you should go check out Code Cleric, where my friend Landon and I pop up every 2 weeks to talk about fun game topics for like 2.5 hours. Anyways, there's an implicit critique here that it doesn't do enough to separate itself from the previous titles. And what it does bring to the table is kind of a novelty, something that doesn't feel like the true next step. This was already kind of the assumption before the game came out. Oh, it's just regular Doom with a shield and a medieval coat of paint. And then people played it, and a lot of people liked it, but this idea was definitely reinforced. But even though it looks at first glance to be just a marginal step forward, there are hundreds of important changes under the hood that we often fail to appreciate when we discuss how new this game or any other game feels. Instead of listing them off one by one, I kind of want to hyper-focus on one specific part of the combat design to show just how easy it is to overlook this stuff. And that one tiny thing is fodder demons. These little freaks are mainstays in all three of the New Look Doom games, sometimes with different names, but always with the same basic behavior of shuffling over and trying to slap you to death. And because they look and act so similar, you'd be forgiven for thinking that they serve the same basic purpose in combat in each title. But that's actually not the case at all. In Doom 2016, you can choose to shoot them with a regular weapon, or, more likely, the infinite ammo pistol. That way you don't have to waste any valuable resources on what's effectively a nuisance. You can also chainsaw them to death to get more ammo, and you can throw out this double punch move, where one punch puts them in a glory kill state, and the second actually performs the glory kill. And for anybody who doesn't know, the glory kill gives you extra health, so putting them in this state is really key in this game. In the next entry, Doom Eternal, there was an effort to change the way the combat flowed, with a much bigger focus on weapon swapping and ammo management. So the game didn't want to bail you out by giving you free ways to deal with less threatening enemies. That meant the infinite ammo pistol was gone, and so was the 1-2 punch move. Now if you punch them, they just get pushed back a little bit without taking any damage. So 2 of the 3 three primary ways to deal with these guys from the last game were no longer viable. In their stead, there was an increased emphasis on the chainsaw, also weapons with low single-shot damage but a lot of ammo like the assault rifle or plasma rifle became really key in not only preserving resources but also getting these demons into that extremely helpful glory kill state. There was also a new blood punch move that you could charge up and take out a whole wave of these guys at once, and it was also usually smart to use your flamethrower on a horde of these guys before you took any action against them, because the flamethrower dropped ammo for every enemy it hit, meaning a pack of fodder demons was always prime real estate for this thing. And now, in Doom the Dark Ages, most of these tactics are removed once again. There's no flamethrower, blood punch, chainsaw, or even glory kills really. Instead, this shield is like a massive transformative combat and traversal tool. So you can use these demons as makeshift grapple anchors to different points in the combat zone that can also do damage in a wider area. You can also ping pong your shield off a few of these guys. You can also upgrade your shield's range for more crowd control, and you can still swap to low damage weapons or new options like the pulverizer to focus on multiple fodder demons at a time. Again, this is just focusing on the most simple enemy type within a much more complicated combat playground. And in both sequels, we see a genuinely unprecedented amount of change compared to the average shooter, and yet it still gets demoted from feeling like a true sequel experience. Meanwhile, if you look at how the games are presented, 2016 was much more insular with a tightly packaged, brooding atmosphere. Eternal then took that and blew it open. It just made everything more vertical, with giants in the backgrounds of levels, a bunch of visually distinct demon types, totally new models for most of them, and these much larger encounters. And then with the Dark Ages, those new world elements just didn't feel as monumental. The encounters are larger, but Eternal had already ripped the doors off. If you're going off memory, you might not even realize these combat zones are way more open, even though they definitely are. There are incredible backdrops here, but Eternal had a ton of those too, and most of the demons also look the exact same but with a ye old hat on. Doom the Dark Ages gives the appearance of a game that's stepped to the side, even though its combat loop is newer and fresher than anything you could hope for from the
I'm doing good. I'm watching lazy sequels. And we're just watching just three things. So we're gonna watch lazy sequels, The Decline of Assassin's Creed Storytelling, and Sympathy for the Immortal. Maybe. And then after this after this I am playing The Quarry after I get myself something good. Doom was fucking beautiful. Oh my God. See, I never played it. I seen it. I have homies played it. I never did. But I did see it. It
Average
does look
sequel,
like a
but
very good
ultimately that's
game.
just not what we perceive
It does
newness
look like a
as.
good
There's a
game.
book by Daniel Kahneman, who's a psychologist who did a ton of work on judgment and decision making, called Thinking Fast and Slow. And in it, he describes what he calls
Thinking
System
fast
1
and
and System
slow.
2 thinking. System 1 thinking is intuitive and emotional. It happens without much effort, like knowing to stop when you see a red light or recognizing a friend's face when you see them. System 2 thinking is much more deliberate and analytical. It takes time and effort, like solving a math problem or trying to figure out a second thing to put on this list. And overall, we're capable of both modes of thought, but especially in generating first impressions and casual consumption of media, we're usually applying System 1 thinking. And that explains why we're so quick to jump on calling out reused maps, for instance. It's apparent, it's obvious, it's right in front of us. And it also explains why we fail to give credit to inspired mechanical changes unless they're more drastic. This usually takes genuine effort to appreciate and notice. Realistically, how many people are actually playing Doom the Dark Ages and actively trying to analyze the intricacies and how the combat flow has been completely altered? No, it looks like Doom with a shield. If I don't think too hard, it plays like Doom with a shield, so you know what? It's Doom with a shield. In turn,
Not to sound like a dumbass, but Doom literally feels like what a game would look like if you never played a game before. And oh my God, that don't make you sound like a dumbass. I should probably put my tablet like right here, so I'm not thinking. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. There we go. Just move my mouse. Now it's better for me. I hope. Hope that don't fall. I hope my tablet don't fall because that would be the worst. That would just be the worst. Yeah, not to sound like a dumbass, but Doom literally, yeah, literally feels like what a game would look like if you never played a game before, and for some reason it's good. That does not make you sound like a dumbass at all. It does not. Just want to let that be known. because there's
Finally, it's
been a lot
doing
of
something
people who
so
said a lot of dumb
impressive and
things,
experience altering, but in the most
but
obvious
that is
outward
not
ways, it seems like
in
just a
any way,
slight
shape, or form dumb.
change. And that's what matters most. The best games out there have gotten so good at this point that it's kind of hard to
It's
notice
only
where
been
they're
38
improving,
minutes.
even though strides are being made, and it definitely
Oh
has
my
an
God, I
impact on
hated
how
that
good a
level.
game feels to play. And when you think about it, this is like a
God.
nightmare situation for developers. When they put a bunch of time and effort into developing the stuff that will actually make the experience better at a core level, the feedback on that stuff is usually vague platitudes of, oh yeah, it feels crunchy, or the movement is slick. Meanwhile, despite us hitting a clear point of diminishing returns, if a game doesn't have enough of a graphical improvement, the world isn't as new or as big, or God forbid there's a repeated animation, it becomes a much more tangible
Bro,
complaint.
people
And
just
if
be
you make
complaining about
games,
everything.
this is an understandable thing to be
Like, bro, there's really people out there complaining about the way fucking Mystique looks. There's people out there complaining about how a fictional blue shape-shifting woman looks. What are we doing, bro? Like, what are we doing? Never played God of War. I know that shit, bro. God of War is so good. God of War is so. I have God of War. I have every God of War. The majority of them are on my PS3 because I bought them, but I don't use my PS3, so that was, yeah, that was a waste of money. But God of War is good. God of War, yeah, Mystique like from the X-Men, yeah. Yep. Yeah. I'm intentionally not playing it until I can buy all of them. That makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. I was doing the same thing with Assassin's Creed. I have Assassin's Creed 1 on my PS3 because I bought it and then I stopped. And then I played 2 on stream and then I finished 2 off stream because I just got bored of streaming it. Um, and then whatever the second game of the trilogy of Ezio's, I played that. Didn't finish it. Then I stopped because I just did. I have a bad habit of doing that. But God of War 2018, good. 2022's Ragnarok, I love it. Should have been Game of the Year.
frustrated with. But I also think that recognizing this disconnect directly can be a huge benefit on its own. As a developer, your greatest tool is the sleight of hand. Games have always and will always thrive on tricking the player into appreciating something that they might not have otherwise.
A
You have to
fifth
trust
thing.
the audience, but you also understand that you can't rely on them to
Hold
think
on.
analytically.
Allow it. There we go. Niggas talking shit about Mystique, how like Jennifer Lopez or how. No, let me see if I can. Uh, what now? Oh, great. So please don't let me get hit with no bullshit. Uh, all right. Let's see if we can find something. The newly revealed trailer at blah 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 blah. Show look at something blah blah blah. One was going to trouble. It is Mystique. After the September state of play, yo, side note, I don't know if you remember me or not, but we went to the same. Oh yeah, I remember you. Oh yeah, college. Yeah, college gonna do that to you, my boy. College gonna do that. College gonna whoop your ass. College is gonna whoop your ass. What are you majoring in, if you don't mind me asking? After the September state of play, screenshots and clips of Mystique quickly circulated online, and the reaction hasn't been kind. A popular thread on X has been drawing heavy engagement with fans blasting the design as off-model, overly stylized, and unrecognizable compared to her iconic Marvel Comics look. Many are calling it one of the weakest parts of the trailer, especially compared to the well-received reveals of Omega Red and the Sentinel. Sweet Baby's Mystique. Look at Mystique in 2009, X-Men Origins on the PS3. Oh, I can actually go on this thing. Cool, 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 cool. Cool, 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 cool. Um, I don't know who this is being modeled as. Criminal justice, but I'm trying to switch to nursing. Highly competitive though. I really need to work hard and be consistent, or there's just no chance I can get in working hard though. That's good. Keep working hard. Both of them are very tough fields, but they are fields that we need people in. Right? We do need people in criminal justice and we do need people in nursing. Not a lot of people want to do nursing. I know I do not. I don't have I don't have the thing for nursing. I'm not doing all that shit. I do know that. Mhm. On film, the shapeshifter was played by Rebecca something in the early X-Men movies, led by Jennifer Lawrence in the prequels, both actress, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, literally, people are just complaining. DI, oh, brother. Um, I was stuck between the two when I sent my application, that and art. Wish I kind of took it a bit more seriously beforehand. Hey, it happens to us all, right? It happens to us all. I felt the same way. I went for originally I went for music and then I switched music last minute to film. And now it's like I'm all over the place. I'm cautious about Wolverine. How much Sweet Baby stink is still on it because they turned Spider-Man 2 into dog shit. Well, that was a spoiler I wasn't looking for. But yeah, people are literally just complaining about how she looks, and it's like, bro, it's a fucking blue lady, all right? Is why am I thing not charging? Like, it's a blue fucking lady. Yeah, I'm doing community college. Well, I was doing community college 2 years, and then gave up on that. Took
Before
just
they
some
develop
time
their
off. I
first
needed a
impression. So
break.
it's fine to recycle things. I mean, that's always been a part
You
of the
know,
art industry and
needed
the
a
tech
break.
industry, so obviously it's going to be prevalent in games. But if you're able to put in just a little bit of effort into throwing people off the scent of that reuse, it goes such a long way. This is something
Oh, it
that From
does.
Software does all the time. They reuse character assets, world assets, enemy attack patterns, and for the most part, unless you look deeper into it, you're not noticing a ton of the
I don't
stuff
really be
that's been
caring.
essentially spray painted a different color. There have
I
definitely
don't really
been
be
some
caring.
complaints levied against this mantra of recycling content, but the biggest examples are usually the cases where From Software was just lazier at hiding things. Like this is the Asylum Demon. It looks like the Asylum Demon, it walks, hits, talks, eats, shits like the Asylum Demon. People will notice when you put the Asylum Demon in your game 40 times, especially when you just spam him throughout the entirety of the game. But how many 3-hit combos have they reused without you really batting an eye because a different looking boss threw them out? How many castle assets have they just shuffled around to make into something new? If people have to scrape the internet to learn where the recycled content is, you've done your job well. This is
If she looks off, let's not forget she's a fucking mutant. I agree. Like, because hey, she's had worse looks.
This is why I've
Right?
said before
She's
that if
looked
Spider-Man
worse,
3 takes place
but
in New York
people
still, and
just
that's like the main open world
complain for the
again,
sake
it
of
at least puts a
complaining, and
nice
I'm just
coat
like,
of supervillain paint
whatever.
over it. Like the end of Spider-Man 2 had tendrils all over the city. Do something like that throughout the whole game, but with more diversity. Turn the melting
I
pot
agree.
into a literal melting pot of different villain imprints on the city. I mean, listen, some
Agree.
people have unironically said that Miles
God, Elden
Morales
Ring
has a
took
more
years
unique
off my
world than
life
Spider-Man 2.
playing that shit, bro. I gave up. I gave up on all the Souls-like games I was playing. I gave up on that shit, bro. Gave up on Elden Ring. Gave up on what you call that shit? Gave up on motherfucking Black Myth Wukong. I just gave up. I couldn't do it.
because they put snow over the damn thing. I promise you, we're stupid. If you just put a little bit of time convincing us something is different even when it's not, that can be just as effective as making something actually new. To circle
yeah,
back onto the question that I asked earlier in this video of if sequels were becoming overglorified DLCs, I'd say broadly, no. Obviously, every industry-wide statement has its exceptions, and there are definitely some lazy sequels out there, don't get me wrong. But I think the real issue is that where they're evolving is becoming increasingly harder to pinpoint, especially for casual players, and where they're plateauing is becoming easier to identify. It's not necessarily about quality, it's about perception. But perception is ultimately what actually matters. It doesn't matter if your game is theoretically great, it matters if people feel it's great. Which is why I also think player psychology experts should be a much bigger part of the creative decision-making process.
You really gotta hate your life to play that shit and beat it. I beat that game like 6 times. Only Souls games I'm actually physically scared to play is Sekiro, straight belt to ass when I play that game. I've never played that. I think my homie did. And I seen him play it and I was like, yeah, that's not for me. It's not for me, pal.
From what I've seen around,
Nope.
playtesting and focus groups are used way too often to measure things and make broad observations, but real psychoanalysis of what that stuff actually means about player desire is often a little lacking, even though that should be really important because players often don't know how to articulate the feelings they're having, just the fact that they're having them. A genuine emphasis on observing and understanding the player's underlying psychology is a major reason why Valve became such an absolute powerhouse of design, and why everything they do feels like 10 years ahead of the curve, at least when they're actually making video games, that is. So I guess if I had one big takeaway from all of this, it would be that if you're a game company, hey, maybe hire some psych experts from time to time. Maybe stop firing people. That would be cool. Anyways, I would love to hear what you guys think about all of this, how you feel about...
You got a point. You know, like people, like I said, people just got to start taking risks. That's what he said earlier. Joey, what are you talking about? Never got past the first 3 bosses, kept getting my ass whooped. Hey, it'd be like that, bro. It'd be like that. But like I said, people gotta start taking risks. These like game studios start taking risks. If you don't want to take a risk, just take something old and make it new. I just got back home, just letting you know. I bet, 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 bet. I was calling you because I had a question earlier. But that's it. If you did you text me? Okay, no, you didn't. 'Cause I thought my phone was on thingy. But yeah, that's yeah.